Hello, it's a player versus picture podcast day. I am a co-host Kyle, my brother Taylor. Go ahead.
Hello. Hi.
Nice. Today, we're talking about a movie, and that movie is Oblivion in 2013, starring Thomas Cruise. You know what's funny? Is his name actually Thomas?
No,
It is Thomas.
It has to be, right? I don't know if you can.
His
You're
name
not
is
legally
Thomas
allowed
Cruise Maypother 4. What in the fuck? I didn't know he had a different last name.
No, that's probably Scientology stuff.
Maypother. He's part of the Maypother 4 group.
Like I'm telling you, that sounds like alien stuff, and that
It does. He's going to launch on the Maypother 4 when the time comes, and the
Maypother
the
for
aliens.
these nuts.
Yeah, true. Thomas Cruise is the star of this movie called Oblivion. Came out.
See,
in
no, his full name is Thomas Cruisin', and they shortened it to Tom Cruise.
Tom and Cruisin'. Yeah. This movie, it's a sci-fi romance movie is really what it is, which makes it just like ugh. But before we do it, let's just say what did we think of it? Let me read the full description. Epic post-apocalyptic science fiction action film.
Yeah,
Notably,
it feels like it's...
I'm still ranting, Taylor. Hold your tongue.
Notably,
sorry. There is no mention of romance, even though that is what this whole movie is about, is a stupid love story that sucks. And even reading about the movie afterwards, the writer, or the director, creator of this, he basically said that he wanted it to be a love story. So odd that that's not the focus of the description, but it is. Anyways, what were you going to say, bud?
I was floored by this. I give this movie like a 5 out of 5, probably.
Yeah, 6 out of 5 for me.
Damn it. No, dude, this movie was...
Psych.
I was so bummed about this movie. I ended up
it's a stinker.
Did you see what I logged it?
I did. I also cheated.
I thought me saying I liked it and you instantly going with the bit made me think like, oh, you must know that I did not like this movie.
I knew you wouldn't anyway.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad you got the stuff I did like. I actually liked a lot, but it is not the main part of it. I was really kind of blown away at the casting in this, in terms of like, this is some truly awful performance out of a particular character that was very important to be good. And I don't know, man. I was really, especially in the last hour, I think I checked how much was left, I think 5 or 6 times.
Oof.
Just in the last hour. I did not give a shit. I was really bummed because I remember hearing when this first came out, I think it got like kind of like a 40 something on Metacritic, probably somewhere in the mid. It got middling reviews, and I remember it came out around, I think maybe Inception or something, or it like got overshadowed by something. And then it got like kind of like reevaluated, like, I don't know, around 2018. And people were like, dude, this movie is really underrated. It's got this awesome twist. And it's like, it's way better than everyone gave it credit. Wrong, dude.
No, it's
so
bad.
wrong. This movie was so accurately rated at the time. And I was really bummed out by it. And basically every aspect except world building, I kind of was on board for some of it. But visually, I think it's a really cool looking world.
Yeah, so official scores out of the gate, I'm giving it a 2.5 out of 5.
I gave it only a 2.
Yeah, okay. Pretty much right on the same page. I'm in the exact same boat. I thought there was enough to appreciate. I thought it did do a decent job at world building. The CGI in this movie is ridiculous. It's so good. I can't believe this came out in 2013. It's like crazy.
I kind of was looking for something like that, and it's very interesting. Is like I feel like we kind of, this is as good as it got, and then like for some reason now it's just this is as good as a CGI ever got. Like there's not a lot of stuff that looks a lot better than this, which is weird. I don't know.
Yeah, and I guess if you compare it to movies, like you said, that came out around the same time, 2012, I think, no, 2010 was Inception, but then you have, like, Interstellar in 2014,
all the Marvel,
just the next year.
And all the Marvel stuff.
Yeah, but I think it's movies that, probably are just 90% CGI, whereas a movie like this, I bet, had a lot of real props that they then amplified with CGI. I think there's a lot of really good set pieces here. I was also reading that they did the thing that's really popular now, where instead of green screen, they have like really, really high quality projectors projecting extremely high res images in the background that they literally film. So all of the scenes where they're in their kind of sky house, the actors were actually seeing that skyline around them because they were in a white room or a white screen, and they projected those images onto that screen. So the actors being up there, it was, they were really literally cool. Filming those images, and the actors were seeing it. So it's a lot better than the green screen, obviously, and that can look real funky if it's not done very well. So yeah, there's a lot to appreciate. But when you get to casting, even I think Tom Cruise was sort of miscast in this. I didn't like him in this.
Yeah, I don't know what I like him in, to be fair. Like, I don't know what I would pick, be like, oh, this is a Tom Cruise vehicle.
He's perfectly good in things like Reacher, things like Mission Impossible, kind of gritty, grounded, action-y kind of movies.
I think with like a romance as where you're leaning a lot more, instead of it being like kind of like as an extra like, oh, sweet moment at the end, where it's like kind of the core emotional story. I don't get romance off this bro at all, ever. I don't like that.
No.
I will say, I don't actually... Tom Cruise is not... all of my complaints are not because of him. I think he actually elevates some of that. Like, I think he's just... Every time he's in an action movie, I can tell how much he's trying to make it... I don't know. He's in those spaces and, like, really selling characters. Like, I as boring as his acting might be or whatever, like, I don't know. He's an entertaining action star. Like, I get why he's still doing this stuff, and knowing how much he cares about the arts of making movies, like, that makes me appreciate, that kind of stuff. So that's what I'll say about that.
Yeah. It is unfortunate, like, despite his sort of his personal life and, being a Scientologist and all this weird, creepy stuff that he probably does, yeah, he's an action star. He's a movie star, like bona fide blockbuster movie star. And you can't really deny he's got the charm and the charisma to make movies work. But yeah, I didn't like him that much in this.
All right, what did you? So there's I actually kind
of go ahead.
I was gonna say I actually didn't realize it until like I'm thinking back on this movie. It's like there's only like 5 or 6 characters. This is a very
small cast. Yeah,
it was. Movies were cheaper because this was like the scope of their like. It only was like 5 or 6 actors. I don't know. I just think about like this movie feels like from a different era of filmmaking that I miss. So it's just like
movie was very expensive.
Well, I mean, it has Tom Cruise. At some point, your budget's just a different story. But like, just think about this type of movie being made now would not cost that amount of money and just wouldn't get made. They just don't make middling like budgeted movies anymore. They just make.
And you know what I'm thinking? I don't think I'm a big. We're still talking about Tom Cruise. I think I do not buy him in sci-fi movies. There's something about him personally that I can't get behind him in a make-believe science fiction world. I don't know what it is, but he feels out of place, even though his acting is good and it's believable and whatever. That he just he feels incorrectly cast. Because my favorite performance of his is in The Last Samurai. He's phenomenal in that movie, and it's such a good movie. Like he's great in Top Gun too, but again, that's just a very modern, regular movie. But looking at his filmography, he really hasn't done anything sci-fi except not Collateral, Jesus Christ. Like, speaking of good performances,
God,
he's amazing in Collateral.
I almost suggested that movie, by the way, when Original Plan didn't pan out. I was like, I kind of want to see Collateral again, because that movie I remember being...
Oh, you should have. I totally would have watched that instead. Damn, we'll do that next time.
We'll put that up.
Yeah. But speaking of which, he did The Last Samurai in 2003, then Collateral was his next movie in 2004, and both of those were, like, insane performances by him. So very, very good. War of the Worlds, I wouldn't really call sci-fi, because it's based in this modern day, but we're being invaded by aliens.
It's the only sci-fi... Okay, go ahead.
Only sci-fi movies he's really done is Oblivion and Edge of Tomorrow. And even Edge of Tomorrow leans a little bit more modern than it does sci-fi, for the most part.
You think so? Okay, I don't know. I'd fight you a little bit on that, but I respect
maybe
it.
You're right. I don't know, because there's
time
a lot
traveling
of military...
and you're fighting only... And you're only fighting robots, and he has exoskeletons, and there's a lot of... I don't know. I find there's very few things... There's a lot more sci-fi than grounded in that movie. Except that he's in a military. Like that, I suppose, is the only... And he uses assault rifles most of the time.
Yeah, but there's just like a lot of him running around in military facilities and, being on the ground, shooting at enemies, kind of standard warfare stuff. This is a very specific...
So it's about what he's running through and the types of gear he uses more than it is about the world at large.
Yeah, well, yeah. It's like the atmosphere that I am seeing him in is what lets me buy him.
That's interesting.
Like being so in Oblivion, there's a lot more sci-fi kind of stuff happening. Whereas Edge of Tomorrow, like I said, he's just a lot of times he's talking to a lot of people. He's dying and then restarting and running through the same thing over and over. So he's coming off a plane and he's running through a facility talking to Marine bros. Like if you didn't see fair. Aliens, you would think like it's probably modern.
That is a fair. I'll cede my point to you. I think that is, you've convinced me. And
so, thank you. My greater point being that in that movie, I totally am fine with him in it. This movie, Oblivion, it's actually, like, if you look at his filmography, it is seriously the only true sci-fi movie that he's been in. And,
interesting. Okay.
I think that's what makes it weird for me and I don't know what it is. He's just like, he's such a modern times movie star that seeing him in this sort of, I want to say smaller film, because it is, it's a smaller cast. This didn't do super well at the box office. It was a bit unpopular. This feels like a high-budget indie movie in a way, kind of like District 9, where like it was big, but it was done by somebody who wasn't known. It had actors who weren't that known. That's kind of how this movie is, but instead of going with unknown actors, they were like, well, let's just shove movie stars in here to try to sell this to the public, and then they picked Tom Cruise, and so he just feels out of place to me. So that's, I don't know, that's just, I'll be done talking about it. Yep.
No, there's a mouse. Sorry, I don't know what that was.
Yeah. But you know what I'm saying. So like this, even within Tom Cruise's filmography, this movie is a weird standout for what he normally does. He does period pieces or he does modern day action stuff. He doesn't really do any sci-fi. But let's move on to the rest of the cast, because like you were mentioning that it's a pretty tight movie. There's about 6 actors in it. Until they encounter the rebellion or whatever the hell these people call them. The scavengers. What are they even called? I don't know.
I think they're called sausages.
Okay. Until they encounter the sausages.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I'm rambling about Tom Cruise for 10 minutes. You take over.
Well, the problem is the rest of the cast is worse than Tom Cruise. Like everybody else I like less. So I kind of don't care much. But I think I want to talk about something I did like, and that is the actual setting of the world. Though they introduced the movie with just hardcore, just narration like you're reading a book, which is always
God. Okay, thank you for getting me back on track. I kind of like lost it, trailing off about Tom Cruise there. Yeah, there's so many things I want to talk about for this movie, and that being one of them. So continue. Yeah, so it starts with narration.
And it talks about how the world ended because of an I wish I remembered the specifics. I didn't write it down, but the moon, our moon, has been split in half, and you can see it just like kind of cut in half and like scattered and not being held all the way together in the skybox a lot of the time, and it's just such a cool fucking image. And they do talk about ways that they the humans basically nuked the planet to fight off some invading alien species that destroyed their planet. So the planet's uninhabitable, but they've, I guess, are still harvesting some stuff from the planet. I don't know the specifics, but the idea is then all of humanity is up on the moon of Saturn called Titan. And him and his partner, girlfriend, wife are there to kind of like, I don't know, do repair work on the robots that are kind of scavenging Earth for whatever resources are left. Is that roughly the setup and opening?
Yes, but him and his girlfriend, partner, wife, they are, which by the way is an accurate description of what this woman is. You don't really understand what they are. They're like kind of romantic, but they're not. And
they fuck, but I don't know if there's romance involved, but there is, and there isn't.
And they're referred to partners, and Tom Cruise keeps having dreams of this other woman that is, of course, the mystery, the mystery dream woman. I don't know. Yeah, he's a drone repairman, and wow, I don't actually even remember the plot. He's repairing the drones, but for what reason, I don't know. I guess because... Okay, so the scavengers are the bad guys. They are trying to steal, I don't know what they're trying to do. Scavengers are just the bad people. They're the aliens, is actually what they're supposed to be aliens. They have these dark, tattered, kind of raggy looking suits on and Predator style.
Okay, I do remember. Predator. Okay. The pair oversees hydro rigs that convert seawater into fusion energy for the Tet, the last remaining human colony ship in orbit. So that's the why that they're there, is that these robots are like protecting this kind of energy conversion from what's left on Earth to this floating monolith in the sky, which is the rest of humanity. Once that's done and the planet has like we've gotten what's left, then those will go back and return to humanity. So they're down there to make sure the robots are able to successfully protect the base. That's the aliens are coming in to destroy that plant specific. So that's the
the aliens have come. They're trying to kill Earth. The big hydro machines in the ocean are trying to do work, and they have these floating drones, these gun shooting drones, bro. They have gun shooting drones that are flying around trying to fight the aliens, and the aliens are trying to fight the drones, and sometimes they win. And then so Tom Cruise has to go repair the drones. And then there's this giant floating like upside down pyramid looking spaceship in the sky, and that is supposed to be the like ultimate comm center for humanity. And it's basically conveying, it's like this super ship that it doesn't have humanity on it. They are farther away on Saturn's moon, Titan. The upside down pyramid in the sky is like, it's the super ship that is, like command central, if you will, and they're the ones giving commands to Tom Cruise and other drone repairmen.
I'm reading from Wikipedia that is, and the movie does directly say that is where humanity is on that ship.
It can't be. It says on the plot for Wiki, the remnants of humanity have relocated to a colony on Saturn's moon Titan, except for Unit 49, Technician Jack and his communications officer.
The last remaining human colony ship in orbit is Tet. The floating thing.
That can't be, because it says that they already have relocated to Saturn's moon.
But so that's where most of humanity is. This is the last ship of who's left on, like, this is the last ship going there. Like, after that, there will be no humans left on this planet. Like, I meant, like, last as in, like, the last of the fleet, not, like, remaining of humanity.
I see what you're saying. Yes. So a bunch have gone to Titan already, then there are still some left on this ship, and it is the last ship, and that's where we get the 2 weeks kind of timeline in this movie, where Jack and his wife partner lady are supposed to get on the ship in 2 weeks and then join the rest of humanity on Titan. So then you have this sort of... I can't think of the word, where it's like motivation for them. It gives a timeline, it gives a crunch, so that as the audience watching it, you're like, oh, they only have a certain amount of time.
It applies pressure. It's like a boiling water, steam pressure. This idea that this is eventually going to have to be addressed. They can't just keep kicking this can down the road. There's the end of the road. You can see the end. And the lady's name's Victoria, by the way, just for easy, instead of having to say that title every time.
She was supposed to be Jessica Chastain, by the way, which would have been
oh my god,
really
that
great.
Makes a lot of sense in terms
but
of.
But the other actress, Andrea Riseborough, I've seen her a couple times. She's a great actress, no doubt, but she just doesn't have a lot to do in this movie, and she just literally sits at home and talks to Tom Cruise via radio the whole time.
She acts in a room, I think, for about 95% of the movie, and then 5% with Tom Cruise. Like, she is by herself talking to someone over the phone almost the entire film.
Right. Yeah, so something that made me really mad immediately was the narration opening the film. Instantly, I was like, okay, this is going to be a shit movie. Because it's some bullshit generic plot about, aliens destroying the moon for materials, but then they also came to Earth to destroy the Earth for more materials, and I am a repairman and I have to fix these drones. And it's not necessarily the narration that bothers me, which it does. I really don't like narration in movies, but it was just so generic and milquetoast and boilerplate and not interesting, and it was said with such weight, and the Earth is left uninhabitable. And like, shut the fuck up! You guys are habitating it right now. What are you talking about? So that I thought was really, they can walk around without masks and shit. Like, what are they talking about? The Earth is uninhabitable.
They
I
do
don't understand
hand wave away in a lot of ways of like. But by the end of the movie, what he is narrating, who knows how much of that is even true? Because that's what you've learned, is that isn't how it happened. Yeah. So it doesn't mean anything. It could be that Earth is 100% fine, and they've just, like I said, been wiped off, and they're all that type of thing. That's my understanding of it.
Yeah, and he specifically mentions that they used nukes and they won the war against the aliens, and then the Earth is uninhabitable as he walks around with no mask repairing drones. All right, dude. So my argument here is that there needed to be zero narration in the beginning of the movie because it was completely unnecessary. It is world building, but here's the kicker. They find a character that has amnesia, and guess what? Tom Cruise gets to explain everything all over again to that character anyway. So they already put a character as a vessel for the audience in the movie, and it happens like 30 minutes in. It's not that far into the movie where the woman from Tom Cruise's dreams shows up. So, and not only that, but he says almost word for word the narration in the beginning of the movie to this woman. So immediately, I'm like, first of all, if this movie just opened with no narration, it would have been so much more intriguing. Because immediately you'd be like, whoa, wait, what is this? Oh, why is he flying around? Oh, that's a cool thing. What's he doing with that? You would be intrigued and hope your questions get answered by watching the movie. Instead, it's bullshit narration for the lowest common denominator viewer to just tell them everything. Because I guess probably they're scared that people will stop watching if they don't have the answers instantly. I don't know. And then they re-explained it all 45 minutes into the movie anyway to this woman, when it's like, the movie just would have been so much more intriguing if they said nothing and let the world speak for itself and let you figure out what Tom Cruise is doing, because he also is fixing the thing. You can tell he's trying to fix it, and he's immediately talking to his partner Victoria back at the base, and he's like, I gotta repair this thing. So like, immediately you're given kind of, lore hints and context clues to figure out, oh, he's repairing these drones. Okay, maybe that's what he does. Whatever. It just started the whole thing off on the wrong foot for me.
So I'll say for someone who, you rated this movie higher than I did, I'm surprised at how angry or how many things tilted you. I'm really surprised.
This is how I felt when we were talking about Frankenstein. Like, I did give this a 7 out of 10, but I'm spending the majority of the time bitching about stuff.
So what I'll say is my real complaint is that I think the the intro, them being serious, I don't mind because it's like they're telling a serious story, so they're saying it very like kind of dry and with no sense of humor, and I think that was more of a mood setting. So like I get why it was a little serious, because the movie, like I said, there's no humor in this movie at all.
I don't know if I implied that I wanted humor. I absolutely did not.
No, that's not what I'm even saying either. Okay. I'm just saying I understand why it's so self-serious. It didn't bother me. That's all I'm saying. It's saying,
but it's the world itself is so like drab and dark. You're looking at a version of Earth where the moon is fucking destroyed and the ground is covered in like grayish black salt. Like the Earth looks destroyed. So I don't know. I thought the visuals, that's where I gave all of the stars of this was the CGI. The visuals are amazing. There are some shots in this movie that I was so impressed with and blown away by. A lot of the pilot drone shots where you can actually see Tom Cruise in this drone thing kind of spinning and flipping around, and like they actually put him through some kind of gyroscopic thing to make it look like he's piloting this ship that's going all over the place. Like there are some really compelling things here. And that actually frustrated me more because it's like I can see people involved in this are talented and have a flair for stuff. But it's kind of like Christopher Nolan, where he's this incredible filmmaker. Actually, more so, not Christopher Nolan, although he does suffer from this, but mostly James Cameron, where he's so self-involved that he writes his own scripts. And that's the huge problem because he's terrible at writing, I think. And it's the same thing with this guy. Like, the director created this world. He created this original fake, which, by the way, the history for this movie is ridiculous. He created a fake graphic novel so that he could pitch it as a movie with the whole sole intention of it being a movie to begin with. So he did some, I guess maybe it's really smart on his end to do it this way, but it's sort of like the opposite of 30 Days of Night, where they wanted it to be a movie, then made it a graphic novel, and then people were like, oh yeah, that would be a good movie, and then they made it a movie. This one, maybe he learned from 30 Days of Night, I don't know. But yeah, he like deceitfully pretended it was going to be a graphic novel to sell it to a movie studio. So, I forget what I was rambling about, but here we are.
I don't know. I was trying to explain something, and then you took it.
Well, you were trying to explain the seriousness of the world, and I
was trying to say with that was just saying that I didn't mind the seriousness. That's it. That's all I was trying to say. I wasn't trying to imply any other kind of thing about how you felt about the movie. I was just explaining my feelings on it. I thought it was like I understood that it was telling it pretty seriously, and it made sense to me. My problem was that it's such a load-bearing lore dump that without that information, like a lot of the movie's structure just like doesn't make sense. So like I don't like stories that make you have to read the beginning scroll text. Like the Star Wars beginning of movie, prelude is often fine when that kind of detail is not necessary. Like you could start Star Wars without that scrolling text and it's fine, but in this movie, you do need a lot of that information because otherwise it's just kind of weird, and I don't like when movies do that.
I don't know. I think with no narration you would have kept up just fine. And again, especially because they lore dump 30 minutes into the movie to this amnesiac person anyway. So you were going to get your questions answered soon enough, but also like. He's flying around this Earth where that you can see is fucked up. The moon is destroyed. And he gets down on the ground and he's trying to repair this thing. And he's talking to his partner who is, they're conveying back and forth to each other that is what he's doing. He's trying to repair and fix this drone. Then he's being spied on by some alien bad guy, presumably. So immediately you would know too, okay, there's some kind of adversary here. I think you would have been perfectly fine without any narration. It just didn't really need it. Now, there were very cool shots. There were some, sequences of like, it's hard to even explain. The spot, there's a part in the movie where you can kind of see the skyscrapers below the surface level of where they're at, where like you get the implication that the world has been somehow covered in just like this super, super thick layer of dust or dirt or rubble. I'm not sure what, but there's a spot where it looks like there's some kind of natural, really, really steep cliff valley thing, and there's water kind of running down it. But as you get closer, the camera shows that it's actually skyscrapers in a city that are holding up the ground level that he's at. And then there's also that shot of the, on the poster of the Manhattan Bridge or whatever that is, that's kind of like tipped over and also covered in this black sand. So a lot of really cool imagery that is also good world building. That's, yeah.
Okay, I think this is why I thought the movie was going to be better than it was, because it starts pretty strong, because that's where I think they spoke the least amount. Like, that sounds very condescending, but it was a lot more visual. It was a lot more environmental storytelling outside of the narration, because first 20 or 30 minutes is basically him going out to service a drone and then kind of finding a cave and stumbling across some information that leads him down the rabbit hole. And I think that whole spelunking stuff was kind of cool, and seeing the old...
Very cool.
It kind of also... I will give the movie credits. Like, I didn't know what the movie was gonna be about. Like, I was kind of uncertain where, like, kind of the story arc was gonna be. Especially as soon as like that crash landed, like that meteor that crash lands to the planet. Like, I had no idea the relevance of those people and what that would end up doing to the story. I was kept, as much as like I was disappointed by the narrative, I thought it at least had good hooks. Like, I was interested in the beginning, but then as they added more and more stuff into it, I felt very like it went from being intrigued to being like, I don't know what you're doing anymore. This is getting kind of like too many flavors in this soup right now.
Yeah, they piled on about 4 or 5 different really generic twists and didn't do any of them well. So all of them just hit like a wet noodle for me.
All right, so I'm going to say, instead of like kind of go chronologically, I think this movie is basically a sequence of plot twists strung together with very, 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 very... I'm trying to highlight how little I like these very, very boring action scenes with the drones. Fucking... If you like seizure warnings as action set pieces, this movie is for you. Because that's all... It's just guys shooting at a flying robot with bullets that are flashing very brightly because it's the muzzle flash and everything's insane. And God, it was so boring. All the fight scenes had no stakes, nobody got injured, everyone was just dodging everything on both sides. God, it sucked so much.
Or the aliens would get hit with a bullet and just evaporate and get destroyed. And
like, that is such a cool effect, but it's never used except for it's just flare. Like, I don't know, that the fact that they die that way doesn't matter, except visually. It's just a cool visual like look. Because, like, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make their weapons more effective or less effective. It's still just as the same as if a machine gun shot up that person, except their body's gone. But the body being there is irrelevant to the story or to the characters' like emotional stakes. Ugh.
Yeah. The drones as a design were cool. The sounds they made were really
and that's
ominous and disturbing, and they're very heavy and low.
I would like to expand on. I did speed right past the drones in themselves as being bad. I would just say this action movie, all the action did not work for me. So that's why that was one of my reasons why I could hardly rate this much more than just being okay. Because like I did not enjoy when the drones were the villains of the scene and needed to be shooting. And
it's like an aim trainer. It's like watching someone play an aim trainer. They're just trying to track and shoot a ball. Like what Why do I care about a drone? What the hell is this?
What I I'd like to compare it to like maybe the Matrix of like those are drones that were the villains, right?
Yeah.
But like whenever they were on scene, one, they were not in the movie much, and two, there was never a shot in hell that the humans could defend themselves. So when they were on screen, they were scary, and when they were in a fight, they were effective. Like they would tear, like when they tear through the Nebuchadnezzar in that first movie, you know, it's God, like. Dude. They were scary, but like in this one, people can fight back against these like supposed to be insanely powerful robots like relatively successfully, but also the story will make them seem like they're in like killing machines. And it's just like I hate when they oscillate between an unstoppable threat and something you can stand up against as a one-on-one soldier. I know maybe they're trying to imply that Jack in particular is special, and I know that there's story reasons that could justify it, but like I just don't think, like, even if it makes sense lore-wise, I just didn't like that.
So, comparing it to the Matrix Sentinels again, those are so cool because they have character, they have faces with the eyes and the front, and they you know, their tentacles will flow and be kind of harmless looking from the back like a jellyfish, but then when they're on offense they whip forward and turn into kind of scorpion tails, and like there's so much personality just in the way the Sentinels move in the Matrix. There is none of that in this. They are literal orbs with two guns that point forward. They don't have a face, they don't have eyes, they don't have, all they do is make these sounds, which are cool sounds, and they're pretty like creepy, and they're really loud. The sound editing in this was great. The mixing. When that scene, the spelunking scene as you called it, where Tom Cruise falls in this hole, and then it turns out he's in this like really grand library from some old, you know, building. It looked really cool. This drone comes down in there, and how loud that drone is in proximity to this space, like it makes them very oppressive and scary. Similar to the Sentinels in the Matrix, right? But he just shoots a couple aliens, the aliens run away, and then the drone goes back up into the sky. You know, it's sort of protecting Jack. It scans him and goes, and Jack is like, I'm Jack number 49, and it's like, okay, you're fine. And then it scans the aliens and is like, nope, they're threats, shoot them. So, you know, Jack is like immune to being shot at from these, but of course it's sort of Chekhov's gun. They're showing this because you know at some point the drone isn't going to recognize him, or something's going to go wrong and it's not going to recognize his voice, or it's not going to accept his voice. I don't know what. But yeah, the drones would be cool if they were just done better or in different context. As you pointed out in the movie, they kind of flip-flop between an unstoppable killing machine and something that can be killed. Which, maybe it's not bad because they sort of highlight it's like a boss fight with a crit hit spot. You know, you got to shoot it specifically in one of these two back vents, and then you can kill the drone, but from the front you can't really kill it. But then also the whole reason that Jack is repairing these drones is because the aliens keep like shooting them down and killing them. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure what the deal is with them. It's just inconsistent.
A floating orb as if like it just, you got to do a little bit more than what they did, I think, to make it something that I find more compelling than I did. Yeah. I was pretty annoyed with the constant muzzle flash, like, and like the flying sequences. Like, I don't know, I just find it not very exciting or interesting to watch.
I liked the flying sequences that weren't the action scenes.
Correct.
Those were cool.
I agree. When they were just like kind of these really brilliant choreographed, weird, this machine, and like you were saying that the cockpit is moving in 360-degree space, makes it like feel so much less CGI is involved, because like you can see him physically rotating around and stuff in like a chair. Yeah, there's some pretty cool, like you can imagine how you could fly that thing, because it's like, oh, it's like you can change what forward is and then go in that direction. Like, I don't know, it's cool as shit.
Yeah, and their sky house, as I explained earlier, with the white screen, their home is above the skyline. So when they're in their house, it's like kind of at the tip of a mountain or something. It's hard to it's not hard to explain. It's just really high up. But the clouds, if you're not quite paying attention, look like just the ground, and the sun sets on the horizon, but the sun is like actually, you know, lowering and raising above the cloud line. So they are above the clouds. It's a very cool space. And that whole set was real. That's why it also felt really, none of it was CGI. They really built this, kind of future retro modern looking thing. It had great set pieces. As we mentioned, the CGI in the movie is really great, pretty faultless, actually. I'm not sure what even was CGI or what was a real thing. But let's get to the first big twist, because this happens somewhat soon. First of all, wait, is the big twist him finding the amnesiac lady? That happens? Yes, that happens first. Okay. So the movie basically opens with this narration, and then Tom Cruise wakes up narrating some more about, and you see this vision of him with this lady, or he's envisioning this lady, and he specifically says, "I dream of you all the time, but I have no memory of you," or he says some
and they
faux
said
poetic
the reason,
thing like that.
Because there was a mandatory memory wipe, which I just think is such a badass universe. Like, that's some dystopia where you have a mandatory memory wipe.
Yeah. For security reasons, is what
if you get kidnapped
multiple times.
Yeah, because if you get kidnapped, you couldn't tell any secrets if you don't know any.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And the way that a lot of these things kind of fall into place later with one, the final of 5 twists, it's kind of cute, but it just doesn't hit for me. So yeah, he's got these memories of this woman, and he's going to encounter this woman at some point or figure out what's going on. And while he's out repairing a drone, some ship in orbit crashes down to the planet, and there's a bunch of pods with people in like hypersleep inside of them. And he's like, "Oh my god, I gotta go save these people." Because a drone is just going to go over there and kill them, because drones kill everybody who doesn't have authorization to be there, because they're just supposed to be mindless killing machines to fight the aliens that run around on all fours, by the way. Point that I need to make. Earlier in the spelunking scene, they're all like galloping around like they're fucking gorillas, basically. So this drone finds this crashed ship. Basically, Jack is trying to race the drone to get there to try to save the people in the pods before the drone gets there to kill the people in the pods. And the drone kills 4 of the 5 people. The one pod left is the woman that's been in Jack's dreams. Conveniently.
And to be clear, the drones should be only shooting non-humans. Like, our understanding is it should not be killing those people in the pods. That is a very strange behavior for the drones, because up until this point, drones are the good guy on the good guy team, and it's the first instance of them doing something that you're like, wait, this doesn't look good.
Yeah, it's just eliminating anything that could be even potentially hostile.
Because the history is explained that the drones were used to save humanity by killing the aliens only. They don't ever hurt humans. And Jack almost gets shot by one of the drones, but it doesn't. And so he saves one pod. And, I wonder who's in that pod, Kyle. It's probably nobody we've seen before.
It's the woman from my dreams.
Oh, fuck me, dude. That's such a crazy twist.
Yeah. But
to be fair, that's foreshadowed more than a twist. But yeah, it's the big turning point in the movie.
And then they bring this woman back, and I guess, now that she doesn't have amnesia, does she? She's just sort of in shock at the situation and doesn't speak very much.
Yeah, so I watched this last night, so I might have better memory for the specifics of what was said, because what happens is she's awake, and she's under the impression that it's revealed that these two are married, Jack and Jill. No.
Yes, let's just
Julia. Her name's Julia.
Julia, pretty close to Jill.
But she is under the impression that he doesn't have memories because he doesn't remember her. So it's more of like she's giving him the space, because the idea is like, oh, your memories are going to come back over time. Like, yes, we're married. Like she has memories of, and based on the ending, it should be obvious that, like, given her last memory, it should be a different conversations that she's having. But my understanding is she has not had her memory wiped. Like, she has her memories. It's just she's been asleep for 61 years, I think they said. 60-something years.
Yeah, so right, yes. She is in shock, but she's also like, oh my god, this guy who's supposed to be my husband doesn't even remember who I am. This is fucking weird. How do I break this to him? So she's kind of waiting for the right moment and kind of going along for the ride.
Do you want me to Yeah, I don't know.
Going. If you have more to say, keep going. I was just like a fucking romance shit.
I will say this is the performance to me that sunk the ship. I hated this performance a lot. But I will say is that I don't think she's a bad actress because her face emoting, I think like she was selling the emotional state very well, and I think her physical acting, like the embraces, like she was selling these emotions, but her chemistry was so like it's just like her acting with other human, it falls apart, but her acting in like kind of like a theater performance, incredible, or at least good. At least I understood, but I was real bummed. Like, and her character canonically is Russian, but like I don't know, man. I did not
get Russian vibes from her at all, but
oh well, that's what it is, by the way.
Yeah, I remember reading that as her character description. I was like, what the I thought the same thing. She's just very stiff, and I don't think she's given a lot to do. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's whatever, dude.
So then this is where, when Kyle was talking about the love triangle, it starts to kind of exist. But the thing is, it's the Victoria's character feels a little robotic. And I think intentionally so, in that like she never leaves the house. Like she doesn't even stand on the balcony, and is always talking to command, and like Jack has always, even his beginning monologues, that he has felt disillusionment. He's questioning his existence of like, what are we doing here? Like, we should stay here. This is where Earth, he has a little farm and all this weird stuff.
Yeah,
and
it's a little cabin. He feels that he really belongs on the Earth and doesn't want to leave it. But he knows that it's, dangerous or whatever.
But the idea is that his lady friend, Victoria, is the opposite and is not questioning authority, wants to leave, wants to join everybody, wants to return home. So there's already kind of a wedge there that you can see. There's some like tension in some scenes when they kind of talk about the greater picture, but moment to moment they banter and they fuck. Yeah, they make it very clear they are doing it doggy style. Or is that what the kids are saying?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's what the kids say.
So then when this pod opens up with an attractive woman, this lady gets a little on edge, but there's so little chemistry that like I didn't even think of this as a love triangle as much as like, okay, the Victoria stuff ends and there's no romantic fight because there's no romance there. Then it's just like, oh, I guess I'm married to this woman, so we're done now. Victoria kind of happens, and Victoria's more upset at a change, like he's questioning authority more than it's like, oh no, he betrayed me. That's how I felt, at least. If they were trying to sell that she felt betrayed by the love, like to me it was more that he was defying command's orders. So like that's what I thought was compelling her character. So that's why I never even thought of this as a love triangle, because there was no fight. No one was ever questioning who he was going to pick. Like, I don't know.
This is like before the camera rolls for a three-way in a porno where like all the people are kind of meeting each other for the first time, but they're going to be intimate. So you're like, hi, this is kind of weird. I don't know you, but I'm going to stick my dick in you soon. Hello. Exactly. You too. Hi. Okay. Which one of you wants to go first? It's like, it just wasn't sold on any of it at all.
I didn't think you had too much more to add, but like that, Then there's a little bit of tension about like, what do we do with this woman? And Jack explaining, hey, the drones were killing human beings, not just the scavs, which is such a obvious foreshadowing as to what the nature of the aliens are. They're called scavs. That's the name of the race.
Yeah.
Short for scavenger. Oh, interesting.
I wonder, why are aliens scavenging?
So, then I think at that point they go out and get kidnapped, right? That's what.
Yeah. So let's. Why does Oh, it's funny. I was going to ask, and I'm reading it right now. Julia insists on recovering the ship's flight recorder because
the black box.
Julia knows she's probably not going to be able to convince Jack of all of this shit. You know, the memory wipe and
that's she constantly says they're asking who she works for, and she's like, "It's confidential. I can't tell you." And that makes sense now looking back, actually is correct. I think that she knows something's up and that the flight box will explain everything to Jack and have it make sense. And her explaining it out of order is bad.
So yeah, she's like, we gotta go get this flight recorder off of my crashed ship, and Julia wants to come with, and Jack wants Jill is Julia. What is it? Victoria. Jack is like, Victoria, let's go do this, and Victoria basically refuses to leave the house, so she's like, no, I'm just gonna sit here and be mad and resentful of you for going with this other woman. And so they end up trying to go find the flight recorder, and they get it, and then, the scavengers capture them. Right? That's...
Yes. And this is where the marketing, I think, really fucked up. They pretended that Morgan Freeman was a co-star. He is not. This is a cameo. They paid him on Cameo like a couple grand to show up for a day of shooting, and that's it.
Yeah, he's a very, very, very minor side character. So here's the next big twist, right? First twist is, there's a love triangle. Woman from the dreams is a real woman. And then the second twist is the aliens are actually just people. They're just the scavengers.
And not just people as in like alien people, but no, these are the human beings native of the planet. They
literally humans.
So Jack has been lied to that the human beings exist and they are on this planet. And that the drones have been killing human beings, not aliens.
And that Morgan Freeman is one of them. He's like, Morgan Freeman? And he's like, why, yes, that's me. I'm one of the last humans surviving.
Wow, I forgot. Yeah, that was such a crazy twist.
Yeah, so this is where I got inspired to write my Letterboxd review. I'm like, 10 minutes ago, these fucking aliens were running around on all fours, and now it turns out they're just humans, and they never run around on all fours for the rest of the movie, by the way. And they never wear their masks again for the rest of the movie, by the way. So it's one of these things that's like purely for the audience to be deceived when within the world they created, it makes no fucking sense that they're wearing masks or that they're running around on all fours. Why the fuck are they doing that?
And what I was explaining this to Brianna when she asked like, oh, what did you think of the movie you guys are going to review? And I was like, when I was sharing this anecdote, exact same thing is that like the worst part is they could have been standing up and even been like freakishly tall or some other characteristics to make you think they're not of human descent. But it makes sense for them to exist this way. The problem now is, this twist was written to be a red herring, to lie to you, basically.
Yes.
And that's the problem, is like this could be easily turned into just like, oh, that was a good twist. Like, oh, I didn't see that coming, is like, oh, those are the scavengers, as if one, the name isn't so obvious, and two, is just like, they were just standing up or whatever. Like, they acted alien just to trick Tom Cruise's character. There's no reason, and they don't do it again afterwards. Like, it'd be one thing if, like, they were feral humans. Like, no, these dudes are just, like, they work at State Farm.
They're just fucking people. And like you said, they're standing up tall. Imagine if instead of having them run around on all fours for no reason, they put, like, those kind of futuristic stilts that are backwards curved, and it lets people who've lost their legs kind of walk and run. Like, imagine if they put those on the bottom of their feet so that they were like extra tall, and they looked weird, and they ran really fast, and then
they could jump really far, and it's like, oh no, the sci-fi tech lets them like deploy those when they need it for the jumping and stuff and running.
Yeah, exactly. Could have been such a cool twist. Like, it helps us run through the sand better or something, or it gives us all these extra capabilities, so there's an actual reason for them to look the way they do. But no, they run around like gorillas, and then when they're discovered and unmasked, they stop wearing the masks and they stop running around like gorillas with no comment on it.
I watched this on Netflix.
Yeah.
The preview card opens with Morgan Freeman's speech as he taps the helmet to explain how it works. That's how Netflix is previewing the movie, by the way. I thought it was so funny, because I knew the twist was that the aliens were human the whole time. Like, I knew that twist. The rest I didn't. That one I just knew from, like, osmosis just existing, pop culture references. So, like, most of this movie was a surprise to me. But I thought it's so funny. They're just like, nah, we're not even going to pretend that this is a reveal.
Y'all know Morgan Freeman's not going to be just, like, a random side character. He's got to be the fucking, except that he is.
Yeah.
So this twist is really stupid. And he basically... he kidnaps them, and Morgan Freeman, wakes up Jack to this little monologue explaining the actual situation that they're all humans, and the only reason he's doing this is because he saw Jack save the people in the pods, and that's how he knew that he had some humanity left in him, and that's how he knew that he'd be able to get through to Jack when, from the audience's point of view, maybe, obviously Morgan Freeman doesn't know this, but Jack is like a regular guy too. He's very amenable. He's a normal dude. He cares. So this part I also didn't buy that Jack is just some like ruthless murderer that they needed to be really careful around. Like, why the fuck would they be wearing masks? Why wouldn't they just, whenever they found Jack, take off their mask and be like, yo, dude, we're people. Hey, like, don't shoot me.
To play this is my understanding, is that
I know what
he works for the oppressor.
Yes.
So that is why they're saying they couldn't trust him, because he works for the squad that kills people. And as it's revealed to us later, is that he's been cloned a bunch, so they have seen versions of him be ruthless murderer.
Like a twist number 5. He's ruthless. He's a clone
so that to me makes sense in retrospect. And when when he said this one particular, it has a multi-layered meaning, because at first you think it just means someone who works for this evil machine, but what it really means is this specific version of you, this clone in particular, versus the other clones.
So let me counter that point with another point. In the end of the movie, the original Jack that we've been following the whole time dies, and his clone is the one who ends up going back to find Julia. Implying that clone is also the exact same kind of personality that the first Jack was. That he wants love, that he wants his wife back. He probably has the same memories of the wife. So he can just slip right in as a replacement for the original Jack that died. So, it doesn't make any sense that different versions of Jack are different, because the two that we're introduced to are identical. Second of all, let's say he did work for the oppressor. Was he some ruthless murderer originally, and over time he's faded into a more amenable guy? But even then, at home, he's sweet with his girlfriend Victoria. He's a nice guy. He's just going to go down to the ground and murder humans? I just don't buy any of it.
I would say that you're stupid, and that's okay.
Yep. First things first, get that out of the way.
So the reason I would say that there's some tightness that it could make this more obvious in theory. But what I would say is that the ending supports the reading that I was giving, in that you are correct that they also, the scavengers are also subject to the same kind of like brainwashing that Jack was subjected to, where you look at the other members of that community, they're bloodthirsty too. The right-hand man wants to like blow their brains off right away. But Morgan Freeman's character talks him down, is like, no, we got to give him a chance. And when they did,
we can't blow his brains off.
And they realize that they're
his brains.
Okay, no, I meant get blown
I know.
So hard his brains fall out.
We need to blow them so hard that their brain comes out.
Yeah, exactly. You
Please,
come your
Morgan.
Brain fluid, not semen.
Let me blow him now.
That's what happens, and so in the movie, I think to try to give the movie a fair shake, I think that the reading could also be that it is more about, instead of viewing your enemy, like your opposition, as one faceless kind of repetition, like they're all the same guy over and over and over again, but they're actually all individual people who can be kind of talked to and have reason. They're not just the things that they have been taught to believe. They can learn new and grow and change. And I think that could be a way to read it. And that's how I see it make sense from one screen to another. You don't have to agree with that reading, but that's how I was seeing it and why it makes some sense. Because the wife had to convince the Jack we've been watching the whole movie to be like, you are him because you have all of his memories. That makes you him. Like, the Jack we watch is already a clone of the original and having to go through that same thing. So it makes sense that every clone is capable of it. And so the scavengers' belief that they're murderous are also wrong because they didn't realize that the Jacks have been trained to believe all the scavengers are evil in the same way.
So here's, I guess, where I maybe I need some clarity. Did Jack actually murder scavengers at some point?
I mean, yes, I think not that clone, not that specific guy, but a Jack. And in the same way that, like, think about that fight scene in the spelunking temple or the tunnel. Like,
yeah, he was shooting at him. He wanted to kill him.
And so, like, how many of those, they would tell the story, they bring that back, that, oh, I ran into a Jack, and once again, he's out there killing us, because they know... So
here's my question. Did the scavengers at any point just try taking off their mask and looking at Jack? Or have they always been these hooded, masked figures that look like fucking aliens? That's the part to me that's just stupid. Like you're running around on all fours dressed like an alien, and then you're mad that they're shooting you like you're an alien. It's fucking dumb.
At this point, too, when we're watching, it has been 65-ish years of the conflict.
Right.
We learn that the history that we know is a lie, but we don't know what the definitive true story is. So they give themselves enough kind of history is fake. So it's impossible to know exactly when that happened, but I think it is a testament to being that the people that are alive now in their 30s grew up in this world, so they've always known whatever they've been raised to believe about the Jack cleanup crew. So that's where seeing kind of our brainwashing happen in the United States, I'm seeing this generational, like, you're right, like, at some point you would think they would have tried that. They don't document it. I don't necessarily have a good counter to that specific point. But I think that with the conflict going as long as it has, that, like, that's why they aren't doing it nowadays, is that, like, they must have tried it in the past and history is not being recorded accurately, as we know. So, like, whatever really happened is lost to time, and kind of...
I just don't buy it, man. Especially because it's 60 years, right? Like, if it was thousands of years of the Clone Wars, I would get that, like, maybe their programming or their cloning is starting to warp and get a little malfunctiony, and that's why they're actually getting their humanity back. But it's been 60 years. So you're telling me, like, one generation of Tom Cruises went from, like, being ruthless murderers who could murder...
I'm saying they're never ruthless, bloodthirsty killers. I'm saying that all the clones had a mission to kill the scavengers, and all the people that are on this planet are bad guys. So, when he's sent down and the first thing he sees are the bad guys, he shoots at them, because that's what he knows to believe, because he has no prior memories. And now at the point, all of humanity has now scattered. They are not on the surface anymore. So then now when Jacks get down, they don't immediately see their enemies. They have time to be normal human beings, because the original Jack is a good guy. So now with no interference, he's able to be himself and come to the conclusion of being a normal good person. So I would say that the movie does support that it's always been the case. But if you think about him having no memory, immediately drop in with a mission, he sees the villains, and then, like, they, you know, I would agree. What about year one? What does that confrontation look like? I don't know. But within the context of this movie, and they're saying there has been no recorded history for 60 years. All of humanity has been lost to time. Like, there's no records of, there's no books for them to read to know how that stuff goes.
Let me extrapolate on this just a little bit. A fun little thought experiment on the hour mark of this podcast that we should end. Morgan Freeman's character explains that Jack was the original leader of the scavengers, and that he got kidnapped and taken, which, by the way, we haven't even spoiled the last final twist, which turns out, like, the actual aliens are the ship in the app that's, like, floating above overhead, and it's some super AI alien thing that's been, like, cloning Jax and making him do their bidding. But the original Jack was the commander of the scavengers, and he got kidnapped by the aliens, the actual aliens.
No, that's not what happens.
Yes, it is.
The original one is he's a fucking astronaut on a mission from NASA to investigate those shit things. And that up by Titan, they hyperdrive up to Titan, and then they get sucked in, and then it clones, and then he sends his wife back to Earth, and that's where we come in, as seeing it took 65 years from their original clone point to Earth. That's why he may have been a leader, but not the original Jack. The original Jack, it was an astronaut that's cloned, but by visiting them 65 years out by Titan. That's why Titan is referenced, because that's where those aliens came from. But they go to planet, sucking up all the resources.
Man, I can't. Fuck. I could have sworn that the Morgan Freeman character was like this is the commander that we knew, or he implies something like that he's the good commander and it's good to have him back or something.
The idea, though, being that people knew Jack Johnson, whatever. This was a famous astronaut.
He's like a Buzz Aldrin kind of guy. Okay.
Yes.
So let's extrapolate this. Why are all of the remaining humans wearing masks?
To hide from the drones. To blend in, that would be my understanding, is it's survival.
But if the drones are robotic and they can scan and kill the aliens anyway, whether they're looking like a human or have a mask on their face, what is the difference? The Earth, you can breathe it. It's not like they need these masks for air supply or something, because Tom Cruise is just walking around without anything. He's fine. And eventually the scavengers walk around like that too, so they all know that the air is breathable and perfectly fine. Like, what? It's just, even in the history of wars all throughout our existence on this planet as humans, nobody wears masks to fight each other.
Well, Kyle, the other thing is, I mean, it was a nuclear fallout according to this world, so wearing masks makes perfect sense to me. If you're going to get stuck on something...
No, but they watch Jack walk around without a mask.
It doesn't undo kind of, why would a society wear a mask just because one guy doesn't mean that,
but then also Morgan Freeman's character is the one who somehow knows that these containment zones, this is a minor point that we haven't talked about yet, is that when Jack flies around, he reaches these big walls. They're they're digital, but it's like, don't cross this zone. This is a radiation zone. And so Jack is like, oh, I'll die in 2 seconds if I go in there. And Morgan Freeman's character is the one that's like, you should explore those zones and tell me what you find out. By the way, wink, wink. Turns out they're not radiation zones. It's just like the aliens up above creating these artificial zones to keep the clone Jacks away from each other, from discovering one another. How does Morgan Freeman know that? That means he knows that the world is not contaminated. So why wear the masks?
Look, Kyle, I think that we can agree that Morgan Freeman's character is the more of a inconsistency than the world building. Makes sense to me that if you believe you are a scavenging race of beings left on a planet destroyed by radiation, and what you assume is dust storms and kind of toxic shit, it makes sense that they would try to have low visibility, not knowing the technology of the drones. The problem is that Morgan Freeman's character is an omnipotent narrator bullshit where they just give all the universe's answers to the audience through this character. And I think that is the problem I have with it, more than everything outside of him not making sense. Because him knowing everything should dispel all of this reverse culture thing. He alone is the problem. If you cut him out, their society makes sense to me. Morgan Freeman knowing all the answers destroys all the mystery, makes it make no sense at all. You're right, they shouldn't be wearing masks because Morgan Freeman knows the truth. Why would clothing doesn't matter to the drones? It makes you just slower and you're going to die instantly anyway. That's the problem, is that he has the answers, but somehow the society doesn't.
Yeah, that is a great way to sum it up. That is the problem I have, is that in my head, I'm like, I shouldn't have all of these questions and have no answers and all of it makes no sense. But the only reason I have all these questions and it doesn't make sense is because Morgan Freeman is omnipotent and knows everything anyway. So it's like, I know that these scavengers have all this information, so that's what's making me ask all these questions and yeah. It just is so ludicrous and stupid. And you're right, if they cut out Morgan Freeman and maybe made, by the way, Nikolaj Coster-Waldau is in the movie. He's the right-hand man to Morgan Freeman. He plays Jaime in Game of Thrones.
You can definitely tell this is a Game of Thrones casting in terms of, like, he was only hired at the peak of Game of Thrones, and I don't see him in a lot of mainstream movies. Like, he's obviously in stuff, but not in, like, Hollywood blockbuster movies anymore. Yeah.
So, like, that guy, if he was just the main character and he was, like, hateful and mean, it would add more reasonable friction. It would make the movie
make more sense, honestly.
Yeah. And he would be... Well, but no, because Morgan Freeman knows everything, that means all the scavengers know everything. So there's no point for them to act in any fucking way that they act. It's so stupid.
Like, imagine this, Kyle. He's the leader and observes from a distance what happens with... as the movie does. And instead of being told to give him a chance, he subconsciously is like, wait a minute, this is weird. I've never seen something like this. I thought... They did not have this capacity, and like I don't know, you let that character start to realize like and find out that this guy's human, and they realize like, wait, we don't need these masks, and like that completely changes.
Yeah,
and then the movie would have to be about something else and a bit longer, but like there's a version of this where it's more interesting, but instead they to make it shorter or may appeal to I don't know what it is. You just get the character that has all the answers, just plop in halfway through the movie to then give the character inspiration to clear up any kind of conflict and be like, okay, Act 3 begins.
Let me read here what basically what happens. Okay, so this is when they get captured. Malcolm is Morgan Freeman's character, so he's got Jack tied to a chair or whatever, and it's this. Malcolm reveals the truth. Humanity lost the war. The Tet is an alien machine intelligence harvesting Earth's resources. After the moon's destruction, the Tet deployed thousands of clones of astronaut Jack Harper, brainwashed into obedience, to exterminate the remaining humans. Malcolm had assumed these clones were inhuman until witnessing Jack show interest in a discarded book, hinting at lingering humanity. Jack reprograms a captured drone, but it's a blah, blah, blah. So, this guy literally knows everything.
And he's the one who decides to give the one clone a chance, and that's the savior of the world.
But then, you know, whatever, we're kind of talking in circles. We're just fucking ranting for like 30 minutes about how stupid this is. But, you know, Jack Harper being cloned and brainwashed into obedience to exterminate the remaining humans, like, I don't see a world where any of these Jacks are exterminating the remaining humans. Unless, of course, they're wearing the masks, so Jack thinks they're aliens. But then why are they wearing masks? I don't know, whatever.
I mean, the problem is that you're like saying you would know how a hypothetical character, a different clone, like, we don't know what those characters were like. We can't say how he would or wouldn't act. We've never met those characters. Those were 60 years ago.
I'm just saying that the two clones that we interact with in the movie, Jack 49 and Jack 52, are both identical. So that implies to me, our sample size is 2, and both of the clones are exactly the same. So I'm saying, like, there's no evidence that the other Jacks were worse, other than Morgan Freeman's word, but also there's too many questions surrounding it anyway for me to actually be able to understand how the other Jacks...
The problem... You could ask the inverse question is like, you have no proof that the clones weren't way more vile 60 years ago. Like, they could have been. Like, that's the problem with the what if. Like, I feel like you can't know one way or the other. So, like, I feel like it's tough to, like, draw any kind of conclusion about, well, this wouldn't make sense or this wouldn't work. It's like, I don't know that it would or wouldn't work. The movie is just saying it doesn't matter. That's just what happened. And you kind of have to decide.
So that's why it's just a poorly written garbage. It leaves me with way too many questions, and based on the world that they have created and given me, it doesn't make sense within those boundaries and those rules.
If you had a mandatory memory wipe and you're saying that every human on here is actually an evil clone, and you truly believe that, and that if you don't do something, the rest of humanity is going to die that's up here on these planets, like, I could see that him doing that kind of thing. Because, like, that's what they're saying, is that the Tet has brainwashed him, and he has no memory prior to what Tet's mission is for him. And so I think you could easily convince that, like, these are these are all clones of an evil alien race. Even though they look just like your friends, they're not your friends. They're bad boys and girls. Like, I don't know, that I could see that's how they could do it easily. And someone who would sacrifice himself for a mission. He seems like someone who would go and do the hard thing for, the sake of humanity. That's how it makes how I think they could convince me, at least. But I think you're right.
We're just going to talk in circles. I'm just saying, based on what we see, I just can't see that being a reality. Based on the Jack that we're seeing in the movie, the two of them, it doesn't make sense to me that they would ever have been behaving in a different kind of way that is that extreme.
Whatever. So my picture that I just painted to you, you don't think why would that not be a compelling way for a person to murder other people, right? Like, what is it that the scenario I specifically gave wouldn't work?
Because the Jack that we're seeing is part of that scenario, and he's a nice guy.
But he's only nice in that, like, he doesn't think that if he's convinced that these people are evil, he would be willing to kill them to save people. Like, you being nice can easily be manipulated and weaponized against other people's. And that's how racism exists. You know what I mean? Like, if you're convinced, anyone with good moral beliefs, if you believe that your neighbor is evil, a good person could do lots of horrible things. That's why I think it works. But if you don't think that is a real thing that people are willing to do, then, like, yeah, that's fair. And like I said, I also don't disagree with your reading. I was more just saying why it works for me. So after that happens, the movie kind of fast forwards, but also slows down like super bad, because it becomes kind of like leading everybody on this kind of wandering goose trail towards the end of the movie with him and his wife. And then he finds out that a clone of him exists, and they have a fight. And like, I didn't know who won the fight. I thought the bad clone won the fight originally.
There was a visual indicator. The Jack 52, not the Jack we've been following, has a bandana around his neck. So that was how you differentiated them. And the guy with the bandana was the one who lost the fight and got knocked out and got handcuffed. And then Julia gets shot, but then they have the magical medical healing thing that just heals her immediately. So it's not even that big of a deal. And then, there's more bullshit in there, but basically, they after Malcolm, the all-knowing, omnipotent guy that he is, reveals everything, they basically create this plan to bring a nuclear bomb up to the super alien ship and blow it up. And that happens. They go up there.
Oh, yeah, and also, right, the second they make their plans, the drones invade and kill just about everybody except...
Yeah.
And they destroy their way to deliver the bomb without someone having to basically go and deliver it. So now they have to have a person physically go and do it.
They were going to put a nuclear bomb in one of the drones, and when the drone goes back to the mothership to be repaired or whatever, they were going to blow it up. But then that drone, the one drone they were able to capture, dies, even though Jack gets hands-on with every single knocked-down drone in the movie, so there's no way they wouldn't be able to capture another drone. Also just thought of that. Like, why the fuck wouldn't they just go get another drone? Command doesn't know that Jack is being, like, counter-brainwashed by these scavengers and knows the truth now, so he easily could just be like, okay, Command, I'm going to repair this drone, and then just, like, hook it up to his ship and drag it to the scavenger's den. I don't know. It's stupid. I mean, maybe there was some kind of time crunch that I don't remember that made them have to be so urgent, but
I don't know if the time crunch that was like given to Jack and Victoria is like something that's relevant. Like this weird timeline that he thinks is like, oh, after these 2 weeks, then this blank is going to happen. So maybe the idea is at the end of those 2 weeks, they're destroying the planet, like, for good. I don't.
Yeah, I don't actually know what happens at the end of the 2 weeks. Also, now that Jack knows the truth, does he even care about this 2-week timeline? Is it even relevant? I don't know.
Well, but it is if he wants to live on the planet, because that's the end goal of the
test. Oh, true. They have to kill them before. Yeah, maybe that's what's approaching. So this movie basically has about 5 twists, and it needed to remove maybe 3 of them. Right? We have the secret wife love triangle. We have the scavengers are actually humans. We have the
history that you know isn't real.
Yeah, which is part of a greater plot because there are actual aliens, but it's not the aliens that we originally thought.
Oh, sure. And then the twist that
Jack is a bunch of clones. Yeah, Jack is cloned and he's being intentionally sectioned off from other clones.
Oh, and that I guess the when they finally play the speaker box back in like the last 5 freaking minutes of the movie, and I guess he gets to hear their first encounter with the machine and finding out that what was crash landing was how long it took from where the tech originally was discovered to Earth. Like that, that was what started this whole thing, and still
pretty lucky that Jack got cloned and that he's the exact same age as when she got put into hypersleep, right? Because if it took actual 60 years, Jack would have been a 90-year-old man down here, and she would have been...
Yeah, and those are all clones.
But luckily, he kept getting cloned and stayed the same age as her, getting put into hypersleep. And then the original Jack sacrifices himself to go up to the alien ship and blow it up. Of course, they succeed, and he's got to do some valiant thing. Then it turns out that Jack and her banged, which they did earlier in the movie, in Jack's little secret cabin in this beautiful little green part of the world. It's like this gorgeous little fairy tale looking natural cabin spot that Jack is rebuilding, and I don't know. Is this just some kind of random spot that happens to be flourishing? Because obviously we've seen a lot of the landscape, and it's all just like salted, as they say. It's tainted and all of this black sand and shit. So are there other natural nice spots like this, or is this just a little oasis?
I can't tell if it's something that he brings a plant to Victoria at some point as being like, hey, stuff is growing. So like maybe it's more the implication that there are certain spots on the map that are able to have growth. And I think maybe that's what it more is, like this is a secret oasis more than, I don't know, but I don't have an answer for you.
And then, because they banged, I guess now there's a 3-year time lapse where Julia is at this cabin raising this little kid, and then the scavengers suddenly show up from in the woods with all of their kids too. I guess they've all been banging and having kids in these 3 years. And then Jack emerges and he's like, I've been spending the last 3 years searching for this. And now I will just insert myself into the other Jack's place and we'll be in love. And then the movie ends.
Seems like a dark ending, right?
It's kind of creepy when you think about it.
Yeah, it's kind of the bad ending. So I don't know. I hadn't thought about that.
But I guess
until now.
As we've said, all the Jacks have the same memories, so I guess he could be just as in love with this girl as the original Jack.
But like as the other end, like that's kind of like a fucked up thing to think about, is like this isn't the same person, but the movie treats it as like this is the happy ending. Like, oh, it's like he never died.
And the Jack she banged isn't even the same, obviously the same Jack from 60 years ago, so I guess she's just fine with like banging supplicants that just can replace any Jack at a given time. I don't know.
I guess because the alternative is nothing, right? You don't end up with this guy.
Yeah.
Because the real one's dead. Like there's nothing. No, his spouse is long dead at this point. Because he would have died of natural causes.
It could have been a dark, happy ending where the Jack sacrifices himself and she ends up living in this little oasis raising her boy, or kid. I can't remember if it was boy or girl, but
it's a girl.
Either way, she's been there for 3 years and they're doing great. Looks like they're flourishing. They're healthy and happy and they're in this nice little area. And so she doesn't need anybody. She's been raising a kid solo. She's alone, like in the world, and her kid is alone. And it's been 3 years and they're fine. So like, it could have been a bittersweet ending in that you go, oh, well, yeah, they're surviving. Nice. They're making it. But Jack had to die. Aw. But instead, they throw in this, the creepy clone stuff. Maybe this is some kind of like sexual fetish that the director had. Where he's like, Imagining keeping his wife young over the years, cloning her. I don't know.
He has to have the girl in the end. No, I don't know. I don't know. I didn't like any of the story stuff. Even if some of it made sense to me, I still was kind of like bored by it, not moved by it, and
in the end, I'm lowering my score a half star. This definitely is not a 5 out of 10. It's just kind of when you think about any aspect of the movie that isn't visual, it's stupid.
Like something they tried to make like a revelation was that some phrase that you hear Victoria say over and over, turns out the real Victoria said that right before she was cloned, or like as if that like piece of information is relevant. It's like, no, that's just what Victoria says. Okay. So like Another Day in Paradise, she says right before like getting absorbed. And that's what Victoria's clones always say. And it's just like, that's not some big revelation. That's just a quirk of the person still exists. Maybe that's what they're supposed to prove that, like, I don't know. But they also like had this weird like sexual tension photo that's taken right as a selfie right before. That's used in the like areas to show like, see, Victoria and Jack were always together, but it's like, Victoria takes a selfie with Jack like an inch from him, and he turns to look at her in like a way that's like makes his face almost touch her face in a weird way. I'm like, was there sexual tension with these two characters? Is that what you're implying?
Because no, he jerks his head away right after. So the picture looks really sweet because he's looking at her and she's smiling at the camera and his face is really close to her. But when it goes back to the flashback, she surprises him. She's like, "Hey, Jack." And he turns and goes like, "What?" And she snaps the photo at that exact instant. But when he realizes how close his face is to hers, he immediately pulls his head away. And he's like, "Ugh." So there's
my
even
question
another...
though, Kyle,
is
it supposed to be the other way? Does she have a crush on him, or is it supposed to be mutual?
I don't know.
That's what I was not sure.
It's at the very least, she has a crush on him.
Okay,
at the very least,
that's the vibe I got.
He definitely is not interested in her, and that's why even during the movie, he's kind of like not interested in her. He's kind of going through the motions, thinking he's supposed to be with her.
I think the movie could have said something kind of interesting there and tries to, but I don't think they do a good enough job of communicating it, because it feels like the reason those two are such a perfect couple is like this idea that the girl is trying to force this and is just not letting him, where he's obviously not interested in her, but like she's interested in him, like won't let him go, and like that's part of like why those two clones behave the way they do, is this like never ending like love triangle that doesn't really exist. It's I forget the unrequited love, where it's like, you know, you love someone but they don't love you back. But like Jack having his memory wiped and just being told like, no, this is your partner. He's like, that's why it's such a weird. I don't know. I'm giving the movie more credit. You fart? Oh, dude, that was so weak. It was so weak. I wish it was louder. I heard something for sure. Okay. Jesus,
I'm risking giving myself pink eye with that.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
deserve it.
It was like I said, they needed to get rid of 3 of the 5 little twists they thought were so clever putting in there, and just refine what they had, because they had decent world building, they had decent ideas, but just none of them were executed well.
We haven't really talked about it. I think the Tet thing is cool as shit. I love the floating monolith, like just beings that don't necessarily conform to like a humanoid shape, and like it just, I don't know. I thought it was weird and like Lovecraftian, in that like it didn't explain why it was doing what it was doing. Just that's what it wanted. It's just like, it's kind of Galactus-y in that like it's just going from planet to planet, absorbing the resources. Unicron. Yeah, and like it's not like inherently malicey as much as like, no, this is just because my life form is so much more important than you as a life form, that I'm going to use you as resources to get what I need to stay alive. And I don't know. I thought it was kind of cool.
Or the worlds did it better, absorbing the actual people and like using them as the fuel.
Mm-hmm.
That shit was
I did like the effect as like the machine was blowing up, like just the way the CGI effect, like that was just a cool looking kind of. I love big giant things exploding. That was the movie. Cool action.
The movie looked good, even though it was basically just grayscale, but it looked good. There were some compelling moments. But yeah, when you talk about characters, arcs, motivations,
story,
narrative, all of it just falls apart.
I joked with Brianna that you like this movie more than me because you appreciate technical stuff more than I do.
Yeah, I mean
that was the difference.
That's literally why I gave it a 5, and now I'm lowering it because that stuff only can carry a movie so far. I didn't enjoy enough of this movie for it to be more than a 2 out of 5. So,
bro, I turn around, I just got free cheese quesadillas delivered to me. Holy,
whoa!
Yeah, that's the best part of this podcast.
You fucking
I'm gonna go and cheese my lunch because this movie drained me of my resources, and I have to be refilled.
Yeah,
how's that for a segue? That was good.
Nice. Bye.
Yeah, bad movie. 2 out of 5. Don't watch it. See ya.